this whole campaign, the fact that, she's been, she's had a couple of positions, obviously, in politics, and she's pretty much made a career in politics, even though she's a lawyer. They said, well, what do you think the biggest difference is? And I said, I got a great example for you. So right before the QPTV debates last week, she came up to me and she said, hey, you work for North Shore, Jay? I said, yes, I do. She said, do you know when they're going to do the ribbon cutting at Rego Park for the new facility? I said, no, I don't. She said, well, I'm sure you'll be there. I said, no, I don't really attend them. She said, oh, well, I was invited to it. I said, and therein lies the difference. See, I built it, and you'll show up for the photo op. and that's really, honestly, if you want to sum it up, that's really it. And I say it even, when we've been out on the candidate forums and all, when we've been out campaigning at the civics, the major difference is that she talks about technology, and she wants to build a tech center and a tech hub in Long Island City. Aside from the fact that I grew up in Astoria in Long Island City, in Jackson Heights, in that area, so I know the infrastructure a little bit better than she does, I also have 33 years of experience in technology. When she talks about how she wants to help small businesses, I owned a small business for 13 years. I started it with $275 on a credit card, and I grew it over 13 years to have 50 employees and up to $10 million a year in sales. When she talks about things like healthcare, and that she, again, last night, I can't believe she told this story. I was amazed. That she and Curtis, which is the first time she actually spoke publicly, that she has a partner named Curtis Lewa, because she seems to have been keeping it a big secret from everyone, as if no one knows. But because talk about in-kind donations. I haven't seen one from AM 970 or from Curtis Lewa for the 14 million times he mentions her name that she's running for Queensborough president, and the mother of his 2 children. I mean, constantly, that's all I ever hear on that radio station. But anyway, she talks about healthcare. I do healthcare. This is what I do. I rolled out electronic health records for the first 2 years I was at North Shore LIJ. And now I do, again, as I said, I take care of all capital projects, and I'm constantly there doing new technology things and advancing healthcare and building these facilities. So when she talks about them, I do them. And that really is the major difference. She talks about that, you have to have experience, you have to have experience, you have to have experience. She's right, you do have to have some experience. But I will have a deputy borough president, I will have staff, and I will have people that have that legislative and that government experience. But you have to do this job, you gotta have different types of experience and different skills. First of all, you gotta have a passion for what you do. You gotta really, really have a passion for what you do, because the biggest job you have here is being a Marty Markowitz, which is you gotta love this borough. You gotta love the people you represent. And that takes into consideration all 160 languages of them. My parents were immigrants to this country. English is my second language. I know what it's like to struggle as a son and a child of immigrants. I know how difficult it was for my parents. My mom was a seamstress, my father was a laborer, both union workers. And they worked very hard. And in 1968, my dad fell off a 4-story building. And when he did, he broke, which was pretty good actually, he broke his nose, his shoulder. He got away pretty easy actually. But, he became disabled. But that didn't stop him. He continued to work construction until he was 72 years old. Why? Because they bought a house. And they had to make the bills, they had to pay the bills. And they knew that coming to this country, that was the big thing. It was a land of opportunity for them, but they had to work for it. They had to work very hard for it. And there were some pretty slim days in our house. I make no bones about it. But we got through it. And my mother always said, as long as we have a little bit, we'll survive. It's the nothing that you can't do. You can't survive on. So just appreciate the little bit that you have. And that's the way we were raised. We were raised to work very hard. We were raised not to judge anyone, not by the color of their skin, the job they do, or who they are. You judge people for their heart and their soul and who they are, in that capacity. That's the way we were raised. And that has a lot to do with this job. Because you have to be able to understand the people you represent. You have to understand that, not everyone is a millionaire. And unfortunately, if you look at my opponent's campaign finance record, that seems to be the only people she knows. I'm sorry. You know what? She wrote a letter and she put it out there, and I've really been, and I apologize if people tell me I'm getting hung up on this, but I am. I'm very annoyed about it. She put out a letter trying to say that, she understands the struggles of the middle class and the lower class and how people are having a hard time putting food on their table, but if you could just donate some money to my campaign, I can fight this Republican that wants to get into Borough Hall and advance all the, Jimmy, what was the words exactly?
I think the issues of the 1%.
Yes, advance the concerns and the issues of the 1%. 1%? What 1%? I answered her in the debate, which unfortunately isn't going to air, but I said to her in the debate, 1%? I said, which category was that? The children of immigrants that work hard, get an education, are successful in their business, and are standing here at QPTV against the candidate of the Queen's Democratic Machine? Is that the 1% you're talking about? Because it can't possibly be the 1% that everyone else thinks it is, which is the elite of the elite. If you want to see the 1%, pull the campaign finance report. It took me 112 entries before I got past $3,850. I want to talk about 1%? Well, due respect. I am a registered Republican, but John Katsimadidis didn't donate money to my campaign. Him, his wife, his daughter, his son, all donated to our campaign. And today...
Are you serious?
Yes, I'm 100% serious. And today, well, he's very good friends with Curtis Leroy. He donates quite a bit of money to the Guardian Angels. That's a known fact. I'm not telling anything that's not known, it's public. And the irony of it all, last night she made a big deal that she was going out, she was going to be there today because they were dedicating the library to Geraldine Ferrara today in Ridgewood, and she was going to attend, because that's her inspiration in life, Geraldine Ferrara. I didn't even think she knew who Geraldine Ferrara was. Now, I knew who she is because I went to school with her nephew. I knew Chris Ferrara very well. I knew the whole Ferrara family. But, and then I looked, I said, I gotta know. Damn if John Zaccaro didn't donate $3,850 to her campaign too. Her husband. And by the way, yes, he was the one that had the problems when she ran for office that time. It's just, you know what, where does it stop? There was an article the Daily News put out about how Queens is becoming the next big development place, and it's a hot spot because Brooklyn's getting too pricey, and Manhattan is just, there's no real estate, so everyone's coming here. And the two people they named in the article, Anthony Coletti and Bob, I don't know, all I know is the CEO of Modern Spaces. What do you think? Yes, they donated 38, actually no, I shouldn't say that. Mr. Coletti, who listed himself as an accountant, he and his wife, who was a school teacher at Our Lady of Hope, they both donated $2,500 to her campaign. But Mr. Coletti must have climbed that corporate ladder very quick, because he listed himself as an accountant, but he's actually a chief operating officer of the company. So within 6 months, I've heard of rising, but that's pretty quick. So anyway, look, that's not what it's about. This is what it's about. It's about the fact that, and the contrast between she and I. She stood on the steps and very disingenuously argued about, Borough Hall argued that no decision should be passed regarding co-locations with the school, and then she wait for the next administration. I agree with it. This is one place where I will agree with it. I agree. Things like that should not, those legislation should not be passed. It should be waited for the next administration. But we went into Borough Hall, we went into City Hall, and we testified in front of Mark Weckrin and his whole committee, and said, do not award Willets Point. Wait until the next administration comes in. Wait until the next borough president gets elected. Let everyone review it. Let the civics, let the community boards sit. Let's talk about it. And then let's bring forward a recommendation of what we believe, as the communities, we should do. Thank you very much for your opinion. And we're not going to listen to you anyway, because they awarded it. And guess who donated to this campaign? Related companies. What a coincidence. Shocking, isn't it? Listen, you know what? Every time I turn around, it just gets worse and worse. And unfortunately, I'm not fighting this fight because of the people that contribute to our campaign. I fight this fight because of you. That's why I fight this fight. I have a job. I'm very comfortable and very accomplished in what I do. I don't need to put myself into this. But the reason I put myself into this is because I grew up in this borough, and I got a lot of great things out of this borough. And there is no one you're going to find that is passionate about this borough as me. Look, I relate every area I go to either baseball or somewhere I ate. And you should know, I played baseball in the minors for the St. Louis Cardinals, and I went to college on a baseball scholarship. So I played in a lot of parishes. I played in a lot of fields here. You know, and people are amazed because sometimes we were in Hamilton Beach and I said, Charles Park, right? Our Lady of Grace? And they were like, you know that? And I go, oh yeah, I played them. I remember them. But that's what I relate things to. And, you know, and that's how I got to see a lot of this borough growing up. You know, even when I played in Stan Musial League, we had a team that was sponsored by Gerald's Jazz that was in Cambria Heights. So, I mean, you know, I understand. It's not a one-size-fits-all here. You don't make one solution and everybody's, you know, it's resolved for everybody. So every characteristic, it's individual. And so you have to have your civics involved, very important. You have to have organizations like this involved, and you have to listen to what people say, and you have to actually trust that the person that you're talking to is going to actually carry that message forward and go do something about it. And here is another big contrast between she and I. In my job, when I'm tasked and I'm given a scope of work by my bosses or by departments that are funding these things, I put together a team and I go out and as much as I may disagree with that scope of work, but I'll make my recommendations. They may tweak it, they may not. They may say, thanks, Tom, we'll take it into consideration, but you know what? We want to stick with this plan. Okay, great, thanks, no problem. And off I go and I carry it out. Because that's my job. That's what they want done, that's what they're paying to get done. It's the same thing here. This job is no different. When the civics and the community boards speak and they say, this is what we want done, we don't want this, we want this, my job is to carry that forward and say, this is what you want? Yeah. City Council, yeah, this is what we want. State Senate, Assembly, this is what we want. Because you know what I told them? They represent their little districts, and I represent all 2.3 million of them. So, although they go out and they think, well, we gotta pay attention to you, you're a borough president, big deal. Big deal? You know what? I'll get to your district, and I get all the surrounding ones too. Be careful, because at some point, people move, people talk. So you know what? Listen to all 2.3 million. It's a loud voice. But this whole issue, you know, like I said, and how people speak, and they're supposed to carry out, that's our job. Our job is to carry out what you want. You know what? I think I voted twice, not to extend term limits. I certainly know I did. But you know what? City Council knew better. Christine Quinn knew better. Melinda Katz knew better. A lot of people knew better.